Okay, so this video is part 2 of dealing with collisions in a Unity 2D game. In a previous video, we set up our main character to have a box collider to prevent from falling through the ground, as well as a box collider to detect any collisions, and we check his trigger. We have a rigid body so our character can move, and an audio source that will be available whenever our character needs to hear an audio source for a coin collision. Again, we already said the character movement, that is something that's in another video, and there's tons of references online about how to get your character to move. On the coin, we set is trigger and a box collider on the coin so that the coin isn't something we can jump and land on. It's something that's going to be something we can collide with and detect the collision and then eventually destroy the coin. So what we said we wanted to do next is we want to make a new script and call it Coin Collider. You just right click and say create new C# script, and we called it Coin Collider. We're going to code the class here in just a second, but a common question is, okay, we're making a Coin Collider script. Which object would be best for the script to be applied to? Should I apply the script to the coin, or should I apply the script to Mario? Both of them are colliding with one another, right? The coin's colliding with Mario, Mario's colliding with the coin, so which one should get the collision script? It is generally best to apply the collision script to the object that will survive the collision. Right? If I put the collision script on the coin and the coin is set to destroy, then that means the collision script Coin Collider will also be destroyed along with the coin. And the reason that's important is because we can use the Coin Collider script to keep track of how many coins Mario has collided with. Well, if the collision script is applied to all the coins, that creates different instances of the same class. They're not going to contribute to the same overall total, and each script is destroyed when that coin is destroyed. So I always tell students, between two objects, apply your collision script to the object that will survive the collision. Okay, so we're going to double click on our Coin Collider, and I've got this one already set up with comments for you to look at, and you can pause at any time in this video in order to see my comments and read them more slowly. So the first two things I put together are two variables. These are not primitives, these are Unity specific variables. We have audio source and audio clip. Audio source means you're going to create a variable type that will be able to keep track of what audio file you should use when playing. Okay, so you'll actually attach the file to the source, the audio source. And something that may be confusing to beginners, sometimes even I kind of have to wrap my mind around this, is that the audio clip is actually each instance of the file that needs to be played. So for instance, in the game, we have a file that can be played, but how do we play it multiple times? Well, the way Unity has solved this problem is that they allow you to create a clip, which is a copy of the sound file, and that clip can be recreated every time for as many coins, prefabs as you have available. So just think of as audio source as more or less the container that holds on to the file from audio, whereas an audio clip is what's being reproduced over and over and over in order to replay that same coin sound. This is certainly something that's an option to you. You're going to need, if you're going to keep track of your coins, a variable to do that. And I'm saying that they start off with 0 coins. This variable could be an int. I don't know why I have a float. You really aren't going to have half a coin unless your game has artwork for half a coin. But I do have it as a float. And static. What static will do is it will allow you to keep the value of your coins from level to level. And now I know that's not the only way you can do it, but that's just a simple way I did it with my beginning students. If I did not make this variable static, it would still work. Everything would be great. It would keep track of all of your coins. But when you go to level 2, the coins get reset to 0. So that's just a quick fix, but not maybe the greatest solution. Okay. Then we have our start function, and the start function in Unity is where we initialize any objects such as sound files that we want to make or allow Mario to have access to should he want to hear a sound effect. This is also used in my character controller script when I want to activate a rigid body, so that if my character is going to be able to move at the beginning of the game, it goes and finds Mario's rigid body and allows him to move. So what I'm doing is I'm essentially initializing the audio source so that when the scene loads, Mario will have access to that whenever his script says he should play it or have access to it. Then we have the void Ontriggerenter 2D function. This is a mutator method, which means it's going to be able to change the values of variables or objects within the scene. My parameter here is called COL, which is just short for collider or collision, and it is specifically of the type collider 2D. And what this function will do is it will detect a collision with another object that has a collider on it, whether it's a box collider, polygon collider, capsule collider, whatever object that Mario collides with that also had a collider set to is trigger. Then this if statement will say, okay, I detected a collision. Now, which object am I worried about colliding with, or am I concerned about colliding with? So this is a function is used, and it can be used for multiple collisions, not just a coin. You can put multiple ifs in here. If it collides with a coin, what happens? If it falls in a pit, what happens? If it runs into a door, what happens? So this can be used for multiple colliding 2D objects. So I'm saying that if the object that comes in as a parameter here of type collider 2D, if the game object's name is equal to coin, then destroy that object, which means Mario runs into the coin gets destroyed. Also, as the coin's being destroyed, play my little sound effect that plays whenever we've collected the coin. And then thirdly, I've got it set to where if I've collided with the coin, not only do I get the coin to disappear, sound effect to play, but this will actually increase the coin counter on the screen for me, so that as the game player, I know how many coins I've collided with. Lastly, this is optional, although I think it's certainly worthwhile, and that's using Unity's onGui function. This is if you don't want to use putting together a panel, a canvas UI panel, which we'll do in another video. But what this essentially is saying, okay, create a text style that I can put on my screen. I'm saying my text is going to be normal, and again, if you type a period after each one of these, it'll tell you all the properties that are possible. But I'm setting my text to normal. Color for the text is white. Font size is 50. Those numbers are very similar to what you would see in Google Docs or Microsoft Word. And then lastly, I'm drawing a Gui label on the screen. The Gui label is talking about how big actually is the square that it's going to hold my label and my answer. Okay, so what I have here is a diagram explaining what those numbers actually represent. Let me put the code there with it, and then my little drawing here. So what this is saying here is I want a new rectangle. The rectangle by default is transparent and invisible, so only you as the game designer know it exists. And so what you're saying is I want to make the label show up in these exact X and Y locations. Okay, so the way this grid works is it's essentially like having a graph with quadrants, only it's only one quadrant. So 0, 0 is in the upper left corner up here. And so what I'm doing is I'm going over 10 and coming down 10. Now I know that this isn't exactly proportionate, but you get the idea. I go over 10, down 10, and that's where it will put the upper left corner of our rectangle. And then the second two numbers are talking about the width and the height. So from this point here, go over 250 more pixels, and then come down 100 pixels and draw the other corner. So it's essentially establishing where's the starting corner, where's the end corner, and then that function knows how to connect the lines on the other sides. So that's what the new rectangle is doing, because in an onGUI you have to have a rectangle to put your on-screen text in. So then I put a comma and I say, okay, what label do I want to have on the screen? I'm going to make it so it says coins, so I know what the heck the number is for. Then I put my coins variable that I calculated above, and it'll automatically update. And then comma, I have to say what font I'm going to use. Once you do that, it'll actually put the text on the screen. In the next video here in part 3, we will go over applying the collision script to Mario so that Mario can begin collecting coins.